So if you're like me, you've been following Armored Core 6 for weeks and months, you believe the hype, you got the game, and now you've loaded in. What are you going to get? Well, if you're going to listen to Fex for Life, if you're going to listen to Fighting Cowboy, you're going to get a mecha masterpiece. You're going to get a great game that has amazing replayability. Is that what you're actually getting? No, guys, it is not. I'm going to describe in this video why Armored Core 6 has some real issues that prevent it from being great. And to be honest, guys, it may not even be in the good category. So let's dive right in. The first thing I'm going to be discussing, guys, is the horrible, outrageous pacing in this game between missions. In the first mission, in the literal tutorial, before you've even learned how to do half of the functions in the game, you are going to face a boss that is outrageously difficult compared to what you're going to be facing the next few hours. This boss may take you upwards of 50 tries to beat, and if you just look in the Steam community, you'll see people are already going absolutely apeshit over this boss. However, as soon as you beat this boss, the next few missions are going to basically be an absolute joke. Since you have an absolutely insane crater in the difficulty in these first few missions, it really makes you feel like you have no idea while they're even in the game, and it really shows you how broken the difficulty curve in this game is, with certain missions being literally beating one enemy and or 1 minute long, with other missions being incredibly hard, akin to Elden Ring. So now, guys, we get to the controller support issues and the absolutely broken HDR in this game. As you're seeing on screen, it looks like I'm using a mouse and keyboard, but in actuality, I'm using a PS5 controller. This will glitch in and out, with sometimes the controller functions working correctly, and other times all the button mappings being for the mouse and keyboard. As you also can see, the screen is very white, guys, and when I put HDR on, the game obviously looks like crap. But when I actually turn HDR off, you can see the colors present properly. Now, I made sure that in my recording, I have all the correct color spaces, so this is not a recording issue. This is what I'm actually seeing on my $1,000 HDR monitor. In another scene here, you can see that the color palette is actually way oversaturated, guys, and you are getting these problems all the time. Colors do not seem to present correctly, and the only way to fix this is to turn HDR off in-game and actually turn HDR off in your monitor. Any form of adjusting the HDR seems to create images that are completely ridiculous and look absolutely terrible. This is combined, guys, with already pretty low resolution graphics to begin with. The models in-game look like trash, but we're going to get to that very soon in the next segment. So now, guys, we're going to be talking about the low-res background and the absolutely terrible empty environments. One thing you're going to really notice in this game as soon as you load it up is how bad the background textures are. These look really low resolution, and to be honest, guys, in 2023, I feel this quality is pretty unacceptable, especially from a studio like FromSoft that has delivered amazing environment textures in Elden Ring. The backdrops are also kind of boring. A lot of the levels are actually empty, where you're traveling for minutes or even dozens of minutes in these large environments, but you'll see once you scan enough of them that 80 to 90% of the level is just broken buildings, torn up sheds, a few trees here and there, and fires burning everywhere. And it really is just not very engaging. You're going to get bored quite quickly, and you're going to start rushing to the main mission objectives, because the trash mobs that you're fighting along the way really are similar to a MMO, and they don't give much engagement, and the environments you're fighting in don't really make you feel immersed at all in the game's world. Next, I'm going to be talking about the AI issues that the game has, as well as some of the weapon imbalance problems that the single-player campaign suffers from. The issue in this game, guys, is you're going to realize the AI is kind of dumb. Very similar to Elden Ring and very similar to Dark Souls. Simply dodging around or going above an enemy and then dropping directly below them is oftentimes the main thing you need to do to beat them. The stagger gauge is returned from Sekiro, and it works very similar to that game, where staggering an opponent is more or less how you do 80% of the damage to that opponent. As you're seeing on screen right now, I'm being able to do huge damage once my enemy is staggered. And all boss fights basically revolve around dealing enough damage to stagger your enemy, going in and hitting the enemy with the sword. Another problem that is very apparent in this game is how broken the sword left arm melee is. The starting sword in the game is still better than what I'm getting several hours after. So boosting in at an enemy, oftentimes going above them, like I show here, and then actually moving in for a sword melee is almost always your best course of action. Hit the enemy with missiles as you're going in, and then basically follow up with a 1-2 punch with a sword strike to absolutely deal insane damage, just as I'm showing, and stagger the enemy. Once you figure this gameplay loop out, a lot of the bosses and enemy encounters in this game are pretty trivial. So I really think this is a problem, and I think the AI needs to be adjusted, because oftentimes it is quite dumb, and you can literally sit on top of enemies in certain cases with them not knowing what to do and not attacking you at all. So really, guys, there are both AI issues and big weapon imbalances in this game. So by this point, you must think you're at the worst. It can't get worse than this, right, guys? But you would be absolutely wrong. The game gets much, much worse, because somebody at FromSoft had the absolutely brilliant idea to put platforming sections a la Mario Odyssey in this game. So they took sections directly out of Mario or Shadow of the Colossus and decided to put them in a mecha shooter game. And these sections are so painfully bad, it hurts inside. There is so many problems with these missions. Number one, you can get one shot. In the mission I'm showing you, where you have to basically destroy the Strider, the blue ray of death can one-shot your mech, and it's basically an omnipotent beam that you have to dodge at a perfect time. Second problem is you have to destroy a leg, kind of like in Star Wars, but it's very unclear what you need to do, and you cannot damage this leg unless you hit it in a very specific part of its joint. But once you get actually onto this Strider and actually platform around it, you will see that this mission becomes an absolute nightmare. You will be falling off the mech, which can basically cause you to fail the mission. You will be trying to maneuver around the mech while it's moving, and this is not a platforming game, guys. It is really, really terrible when you have to platform while you're getting shot by this blue ray of death that can insta-kill you, and you're basically going around destroying these generators in a classic trick boss fight. Now, if you know anything about the Dark Souls or Elden Ring community, you'll know that almost all gimmick bosses in these games are deemed to be some of the worst boss fights in the game. This has been the way since, I believe, Dark Souls 1. And in this game, there is no exception. These trick bosses, this whole level where you're basically platforming, is abominable. I was playing with two of my friends, and they were both so frustrated with this level and so frustrated with platforming in general in Armored Core 6 that it almost got us to turn the game off. It was that bad because these missions are zero engagement. You feel totally broken from the immersion, and they're incredibly frustrating to navigate around. So the platforming sections in this game by themselves take a full 1 to 2 points away from what I feel a realistic score for this game would be. So what about the story, guys? What are we dealing with here, guys? Well, I'm gonna tell you the story in this game sucks. It sucks big time. It really is not very engaging, and a lot of it comes down to the weak characterization and the bad voice acting. I'm sorry to say it, guys, but the voice actors really sound like they just got a guy from The Office to voice act, or hired somebody for $30, or hired somebody on Fiverr or something. Really, compared to a lot of games of this caliber, I was really disappointed. I didn't feel like almost any of the voice actors brought me in, and the story is very convoluted. I think for anybody new to the franchise, if you haven't played other Armored Core games, you're going to be completely confused, and the story is going to make absolutely no sense because they kind of dive you into the story right in the thick of things, and with no explanations, and you really aren't given any reason to care about the planet of Rubicon, more or less. So yeah, guys, I feel the story is definitely another weak part, and I just want to basically pull this together in a TLDR, in a summary. What do I think about the game? Guys, there are some things about this game that is really fun. I haven't dived into the multiplayer yet, and I'm definitely going to be doing that and doing some build order guides. I definitely feel like the mecha combat and the boss fights can be fun, but bad AI, platforming sections, and just ridiculous difficulty curve really bring this game down. All this hype that you're hearing online, I don't want to say they're getting paid to say it, but I will say that I can't realistically believe how people would think this is between an 8 and 9 out of 10. In my opinion, it really is a game that's sitting around the 6.5 to 7.5 out of 10 range, and I really want to be honest with you guys, this is by no means, in no way, a mecha masterpiece. Although it does have some good parts, and there are some things that could be fixed, like the AI, and I hope FromSoft does do that. Ultimately, I feel like some parts of this game are really not going to be able to be fixed. Very similar to the story and the voice acting and the platforming sections. So be warned, guys, if you're going to pick this game up, realize what you're getting. Probably wait for a sale to come out. Obviously, I'm covering these games because I'm a content creator. If you like this video or this helped you, please hit that like, and please subscribe. It would really mean all the difference to me. Hope you like this video, guys, and I'll see you in the next one. Leave your thoughts in the comments below on what you thought of the game if you did buy it.